Alrighty, guys. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of CLT Bytes. I'm Brother Jackson. I have CJ here, and I'll let him introduce himself and who he's with.
Hi, my name is CJ Collins. I'm the co-owner of CLT Esports and CLT Phoenix.
Alrighty. Just to get started, what drove you to become an entrepreneur and step away from the normal stuff?
Do we have an hour and a half or so?
Well, I think you told me no. So,
oh my gosh. What drove me to be an entrepreneur? So, I think the biggest part was I was a business management major in college. And that was because like I had no idea what I wanted to do, and it was very general, and I was like, business, sweet. Which you learn a lot of cool little things in there. I think around the time, after I graduated, I was 22, and I screwed around for like 4 or 5 years in a lot of different jobs. But at one point during those 4 or 5 years, I decided like I hate working for other people. Like, and it might be like a huge fault of my own, where it's just like I think I have a better way to do it, and I think that I can be more efficient with my time than whatever this person has me doing or whatever. So I was just like, I want to start my own business, and I mean, it became esports. In a lot of ways, I don't think I would like own like a lawn mowing business. Like if you were like, hey CG, you want to start a lawnmower business? I'd be like, no.
negative.
Do you want to own a gas station and do that? No. You know what I mean? Like all those things, it's like I wouldn't want to do. I don't want to create the next Buc-ee's. It also has a lot to do with like I'm super passionate about esports too. So like anything outside of esports, I might not necessarily engage with as much, just because it's not something I'm super passionate about. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are super passionate about the thing they kind of pick to be involved with. So
yeah, that's I'm kind of learning more as I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Because and you'll see here in a second. But I was like, yeah, maybe some people aren't in it for the passion.
Yeah.
Like maybe they just know that like they will make more money if they own the business. So I was like, but so far that's not the case. I've found so far. Well, I mean, they all make more money than they would, but it's not the reason they did it.
Sure. Yeah.
But so how long have you been an entrepreneur? Did it start with CLT Esports or?
I say this like in high school I was kind of everywhere in high school, and one of the things I did a lot was I would sell stuff in school, like food related things. So like my backpack would be full of like Starburst and Skittles and Snickers and stuff. So I'd go to like Walmart the night before, stock up from like like the $1, like all these boxes are $1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd sell them for $2.50. And so somebody would be like, yeah, man, I'm craving a snack or whatever. Like, Dad, you are? Yeah, me too, man. I got these hot tamales right here for $2.50 if you're down. So then I'd like swindle and try and sell all kinds of candy at school. And it just kind of like started with that. And I've always like, I've always found a way to make money with like silly things like that. But I don't know. I guess that was kind of like when I at some point realized that I was excited about, making money and doing it in my own way.
Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and this is part I was talking about before that you kind of touched on. It's like you said that you found that most people are passionate about it.
Yeah.
But like the next question was, did you choose it off of passion or numbers? And when I say numbers, it's more like there's already, established business models out there that you can follow, and like you're gonna make money. Now it might not be like super lucrative, but you're gonna make money and work for yourself. So
yeah. So when it comes to money, like I'm not trying to be the next millionaire in esports. Like my goal is not to, pull off the biggest business deal or make the best team in order to monetize. But I also understand that like I have to make money in order to continue to do these things, right? Because like, Sarah and I are like looking at a house, like I've never bought a house before. So I'm like trying to like,
it's a process.
Yeah, it is definitely a process. And it's like, there's a lot of like down payment things that go on, and you have a mortgage that you're kind of tied to. And then I'm worrying about like retirement in 30 years and what does that look like? So I definitely think about the money, but like I would do the same things I'm doing if the money was there or not, like it doesn't, for me, it's like, it's a byproduct in order for me to be able to continue to do what I love. And it would be harder to do what I love if there's no money in it, right?
Yeah.
So for me specifically, it's not about the money at all. It's more about the relationships. It's about the future of esports. It's about people understanding that it's not just, some kid gamer thing and like this kind of like unknown monster that they can't understand, and they just feel like they lose their kids to video games, and that's not true at all, right? You're just not interacting in the right way.
Yeah.
So for me, that's kind of the end all be all, I guess.
So, what are some of your favorite tools and facets for interacting with your community?
Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this a lot today, Burley. Like, I don't know why. I didn't. So like, you sent me the questions. I totally only like glanced over them and didn't
I
realize.
figured.
But yeah, I've been thinking a ton about community interaction because that's something we've been focusing a lot on Charlotte Phoenix, right? How can we get more people like in the Discord playing, random games? So that's why we created community nights, right? And how can we get people who want to engage with the community in some way in there? And we've done like watch parties where like people have ended up like, 30, 40 people watching like a Rocket League series or some kind of Valorant game or whatever inside the Discord, which has been super, super fun and exciting because those are people that wouldn't have met unless we created this cool platform. The other thing I really miss is I worked for Super League Gaming and I ran, those Fortnite tournaments and Super Smash Brothers and a couple others at Topgolf.
Yeah.
And I got to meet so many gamers. They'd come out and show up to the tournament, being able to chat with like mom or dad who kind of come and watching, or the kids who are playing or whatever. And it was just really, really, really exciting to be able to just meet people in the city that were passionate about esports.
Yeah, I definitely like the more personal, like in-person interactions
for sure.
LANs or small events like that.
That's right. Yep. And the watch party the other night too. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
The one for the Valorant team.
Yeah.
Or you talk about? Oh no, the Call of Duty one.
Yeah.
And the Valorant team and the Elite team.
That's right. Yeah. All of them there. Yeah. But like we just did a random rock paper scissors tournament that was super fun. Like it ended up being
everybody was into that.
And like I just kind of put it in there and thought this might.
You were like, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. And so like those are the kind of ways that like I want to engage with the community because it's totally a social tool. Like esports and gaming in general is all about being able to interact with others and make friends in just a different way. That's maybe a little bit easier in some ways.
I was like, I feel like it's probably one of the easiest ways to just kind of interact with anyone, whether you know them or not.
That's right.
Because it's just like, hey man, looking for a game.
Let's
or
play.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, I heard you were talking about this.
That's right.
Like, you suck because you play this game. So have you had any people or books that have influenced you into stepping out of your way and becoming your own boss? Sort of deal?
Yeah, a lot of mentors, a lot of people that I've over the years that I've kind of I've gravitated to in moments of crisis, and whenever you need advice. I think everyone should have a few mentors that they're able to bounce some ideas off of, especially people that are like kind of relevant to your life, so they understand exactly like the ins and outs of things at times. That's super helpful. But yeah, I mean, especially like the OGs of the gaming community. And the top three in my mind right now are Jason Lake from Complexity Gaming, Hector Rodriguez from Optic Gaming, and then Mike Hastra from Envy.
Yeah.
Like those three people.
Old names.
Yeah, right? Like those are like the guys who were like, okay, I'm going to start my first esports team. And there's a couple others out there, right? But those are like the three that like I can still listen to on a podcast or whatever and get excited when I hear their names or, because I grew up rooting for their teams.
Yeah.
Right. And just knowing what it was back then, because even back then I would have probably had a hard time like investing into the space in the way they did, because they were super passionate about it. And like they were doing it when like there was nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like,
it was
like they kind of laid the groundwork
exactly
for it. So
yeah. And in a lot of ways, like I would love to be the next person that's able to lay the foundation for the next group that's coming up, right? The kids that are 16, 17, 18 right now that are coming through that like want to get invested in esports in the next way. Like I want to be an inspiration for them so that they can continue to pursue their passion in whatever esports looks like in 10, 12 years. Because it'll be very different, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. It's I'd say there's a decent change about every 2 years.
Yeah.
To the industry, which is kind of ridiculous.
It is. It goes so fast.
But it's like I was just I discussed on another episode with Ty, where I was just like, it's still in its infancy, so it's still going to go through the growing pains or whatever until it like evens out.
Yeah.
But yeah, just how much it's changed just even since I've started following your org and get in there. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, 2 years ago, dude. It's wild.
The number one key to success you think is in esports?
In esports, the keys to success? As
Like
far as like running a business or?
Like, well, I guess you could have like two answers.
Yeah.
So as far as like growing your organization or your outreach. Or I guess like community. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, I can kind of run with that. I think that the biggest piece of running like community stuff is something that I do daily. So I make sure to take time out of my day to talk to new people that have shown up inside the organization. Joe Smo that literally just learned about esports and has no clue what it is. Or even more so, what I try and do is find people that are like crazy casual, like never heard of esports before, don't know what Discord is, don't know how to interact with the community, don't know how to like find other people to play with. And like maybe it's like on Twitter or some kind of other outside platform interaction. So my goal with those guys, and this is like my goal of my whole brand right now. So I want to turn my brand into something where it's all about esports education, right? So we call it now level 0, right?
Level
so
0.
Like it's like somebody who's never really heard of esports, but maybe like they're a mom or a dad and they know that their kids are excited about gaming. But then they turn into Twitch one day, right? And then maybe they do a little bit of research, and so now they have a basic concept of like how the ecosystem works, and maybe they want to try and get engaged. So then level 1 is like they get a Discord and they start interacting in these communities, right? And it goes all the way up to like level 3, where like you're the top competitor in an amateur scene and you want to crush everybody kind of thing.
Okay.
But essentially, like I take time out of my day to invest into the future of those people because we have to. And I want to say, like, I think that my goals in training the staff is to do the same thing. Like, why aren't you grabbing people that don't know anything about esports and teaching them? Because we as a community are very, like, we point at people like, ha, you idiot. You don't know how this stuff works. You're so dumb. You don't know how to play Rocket League. You're an iron, or, you know what I mean? Like, and we do that. And, like, I've done that before myself, too. Like, so I totally get it. But it's like, we as an industry and as a community in Charlotte want to foster in new people that are excited about esports because it grows our industry and grows everything we're trying to do 10 times, right? If that one person decides to tell their 10 friends about this thing, like those people now know, right? And that's how we're going to win eventually, is just we're going to keep doing that. And it'll, multiply itself at some point. But like right now, I invest a ton of time into that piece of it.
So, yeah, that's a really good way of putting that one. That's for sure. I was about to move on, but I was like, no, that's I definitely need to say that. So do you have a number one like customer fan success story that you've had since y'all started? I'll say fan, but I guess fan and or your community outreach happened to really help somebody.
I haven't seen it in like a massive way right now. I'm hoping that like we become something in like 5 years where like somebody was like, yeah, I saw this Charlotte Phoenix thing, and I was like, they could do it better in this way, and they create like their own, maybe it's an organization, or maybe it's like another esports company, maybe it's a tournament organizer, maybe it's a streaming company. Like, I don't really care personally. Like, I welcome people into the industry. If you want to start your own business, your own job, make your own future, like I think you should. And I think there's a room right now. Like, there's tons of untapped potential within the esports market.
Oh yeah.
So I'm hoping to be like, like, yeah, I ran into you at this tournament once and it got me thinking, and then I did this XYZ thing because of it. It hasn't happened yet, but I hope it does. I'm really excited for that day where it's like somebody comes back, and we're relatively new still. We have only been, events maybe a year and a half or so. So it's like, there's some people that have risen to success, and like we've had a couple pro players show up at our events that have played in different ways, or top amateurs that have gone on to be pro players. A couple of those guys, but yeah.
So what is like your approach methods for reaching out to like partners or investors?
Oh God. It depends a lot on your business model, right? And I think that one of the things that the industry as a whole struggles with is like, how do we monetize this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody really knows how to make money. And I would say like, we're not any different than those guys. Like, I still think we present a model where we think like, hey, this could possibly work, and it's primed to be successful, but will it be, and how long will that take? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, like, because it's hard in those investor meetings. But we choose to be very transparent, and we get partners on that believe in the vision of it. And a lot of that is because like their kids compete. Like they have kids that are 11 to 15 that are all about Fortnite, and they're like Fortnite. And so like mom and dad understand that like, oh wow, like this is something important. I got to pay attention. So like, how do we monetize that, right? Because developers are winning right now. It's easy for those guys to monetize, and then like big platforms like Twitch, YouTube. Those guys are winning. They're just kind of, taking their reach and then going to a different area with it.
Yeah.
I would say probably not probably. There's probably 2 orgs that make money right now that actually have like a positive revenue. It would be FaZe and maybe Envy with their, because Envy has like the biggest sponsorship deals out of everyone.
Yeah, they do.
From what I'm seeing, like their Jack Link's deal is nuts, and their Jack in the Box like deal is nuts. So like those 2 might be enough where they're actually making money. But it's like I also know that like the burn rate on everybody is like stupid high, right? So like it doesn't matter if you bought a CDL franchise or like an Overwatch franchise, like you're still like essentially roasting money, right?
Oh yeah. It's like whenever people actually like look, if you didn't know that it costs to be in the pro scene in those top tier games, go look that up and just try to get those numbers into your head that they got to do that every year.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and you have to either raise for like, you know, a 5 to 7 year period where you can make enough money at that point. And that's like what we're doing. We're just like, hey, it's in 5 to 7 years, you know, there's a possibility we can make money. And that's the conversation we have. And our investors, the ones that have decided that, you know, there's a lot have said no, like you're crazy, like that's stupid. I think this is, you know, not something I want to invest in. And like, more power to him, dude. Like, heck yeah. Like if you don't want to put your money in that spot, like I totally get it.
Yeah.
But we've had like successes, like people that own restaurants inside the city of Charlotte want to invest so that they can, you know, kind of use that as a model within their own restaurants, whether it's like an esports bar or whatever. But there's like strategic partners that we've talked to that do believe in the vision, and that's, you know, the reason we've been successful. But like for sure it's a hard conversation, and the strategy is like, let's be as transparent as we possibly can, because we know that like there's a chance that this is not successful, right?
Yeah.
And we want to approach that and be upfront with it, because we don't want anybody to not realize what they're getting into when they do.
Yeah, it's just, you really don't want to screw anybody over.
That's right. Yeah.
So I kind of know the story about how you ended up coming into Charlotte Esports, but did you do any research into it? But you were kind of already into the scene anyway.
Yeah, I had done a lot of stuff with the Army Esports program before that, for probably about a year and a half before I showed up in Charlotte. And at that point, like that was probably my first like esports job, if you would, doing stuff with them. And it was all volunteer. Like I did.
They don't pay for that.
Yeah, it's a passion project. Like, and I think everyone should start as a passion project, because like I was doing my normal everyday stuff, and then I'd go home and work on esports stuff all night, and then, you know, do the same thing, you know, like, and that's kind of, I think, the best way to get involved in the esports industry. But yeah, I mean, I was doing Army esports stuff. I ran into Josh, and I was actually with the Army esports streams, and you know some of the guys, Sinatra on that team with me, DJ Lewis. And there was another guy named Wavy who played for the Army program as well. But sorry, I got sidetracked. Memory lane does that to me sometimes. But yeah, I met Josh at an event, and he was super excited that we were there, and I was super glad that I could meet him. And then we kind of got to talking and realized that we had a lot of similarities in what we wanted to do in the vision for the city. So we just started picking stuff up and running with it as much as we could, and eventually, you know, grew it into what it is today.
Nice. How do you feel about the paid ads you all have used? Like
the paid ads? Like as far as like
I
through
guess
Facebook, social
promoted
media?
ads or whatever they're called.
No, they're awesome, dude. Like, I mean, it's essentially like, because the problem with like, okay, we're Charlotte Esports branded, right? People, the hardcore fans, right? My level 3 guys. Those guys are going to search for Charlotte Esports, and we're going to capture those guys no matter what. Right? But our level 0 fans, like, they're interested and they think esports is cool, but they don't know anything about it, right? So, like, you don't necessarily reach like, they're not going to search for you. You kind of got to go to their doorstep, right? So that's why paid ads are awesome, because you can, like, all of our paid ads, we normally target, like, people that are gamer age, excited about gaming, and some specific gaming terms, and then within the city of Charlotte, you know, like, and our click rate is nuts on some of our stuff right now. We're getting like 1 million impressions on pretty much everything. So that means 1 million people from the city of Charlotte are seeing it. Now, not everybody clicks follow, not everybody follows up, right? There's a lower rate of who actually does that stuff, and that's pretty common, right? Like, you don't, not everybody's gonna click. 1 million people might see it.
I was like, if your engagement equals your reaction, just DM me.
Yeah,
I'd like those details.
That'd be pretty crazy. But yeah, it's been awesome so far. I mean, you just, as long as you budget for it, right? So you have to put some money aside, because they are a little expensive, expensive at times, but like it's totally worth it because of the interaction you get. And as you grow everything else, you can then start to attract, you know, the next pieces of the puzzle, media rights, sponsorships, those kind of things. So
Okay. Yeah, that's because like I know when I was just a day or two out from the Valorant tournament the other night that just happened, like the ad was all over my stuff, and every time I saw it, the numbers of likes were just like
up,
going up. I'm like, that is nuts.
Yeah, that was fun.
So, if you have, how have you approached like other businesses or people for guidance and or advice
for esports stuff?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them too. I try and dedicate one meeting per week at Tabris, where I can sit down with somebody who is thinking about creating a business or has already created a small business. And I mean, I'm not the end all be all, right? We started a year and a half ago, right? So like, I don't know everything for sure, and there's a lot that I have to learn as well. But like, anytime I can sit those guys down and look at their business plan and give them encouragement, because that's the two things everyone needs. Just a little bit of like, hey, here's some direction, here's some things I've learned, and here's, you know, if I were you, this is how I would kind of push it. And the other thing is like, they're always not demoralized, that's a bad word for it, but like definitely in the weeds and can't see the end. And, you know, so I always try and be a resource for them, and I give them my phone number, and I want all of that stuff to be successful. Like, and I tell them this, like, I want you to be successful. Like, I'm not going to try and slow you down. I will not slow down any other esports organization. I welcome it. Yeah. Because it's only good for my city. Because that's, I mean, at the end of the day, I care about the why. And we talked about money and what do I care about? I care about the why. And the why for me is that there's probably tons of 16-year-old kids that have to somehow justify to their mother and father that they want to play esports in a, you know, professional capacity or want to try or compete in a high level, right? And I would say probably 90% of them get shot down, and their parents say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Stop it, go outside, play with your friends or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't happen because they lose that fight. And I do it because I want to help that person to be able to pursue their dream, right? So anything that helps my city grow, I'm down for. Anything that helps esports as an industry grow internationally, I'm down for. Like, let's do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, because really, especially like we already hit on it, where the industry is still kind of new and molding and stuff. If anyone starts getting traction, everyone gains from
That's right.
So it's kind of good. The lessons learned, I say lessons learned from starting. I mean, you were brought in really early, so I mean, you still have lessons.
Yep. Sure. Oh my gosh, lessons learned. It's I think my passion is events, right? So lessons learned with events. There's a lot of things. Events are hard. As far as like hard on everyone, you know, it's hard on the staff to be able to bring all the equipment. It's hard on going through the weekend, dealing with all the things you have to deal with from the player's perspective, dealing with vendors that show up, dealing with, you know, moms and players. There's a lot of pieces that go into it, dealing with power outages, those kind of things. Fun. So definitely lessons learned from an event side are the two things you have to check consistently. Like the first question I always ask is power management. So that's where I start with everything. Like, what kind of outlets are we working with? Who's my electrician on the day of? You know, and making sure all those pieces are in place, because if they aren't, you don't have an event. And then the second piece is internet. You know, how good is our internet? Do we need to install internet? You know, we have the capabilities. We'll hire the right person in order to get, like, you know, the fiber line in here if we have to, or whatever it looks like. So those are two of my big lessons learned. If I had a third that's been like on the forefront of my mind recently, it is strategically planning matches so that your viewership is more enticed to watch, to be able to pump your numbers up, right? So like finding the most dramatic matches or the highest, you know, social team there in order to be able to pump everybody's numbers up.
See, now, like for me, I think that would be like common sense. But that's just me.
Just
from like being a viewer for so long, I guess it's like if it's not interesting, I'm switching.
Dude, right away. It's like Goldfish mentality. Like, oh, I'm done, dude. I totally get it.
There's like 15 other streams I can watch.
That's right.
Or whatnot. So, the hobbies you have outside of esports, I blanked out. I was like,
oh, you're fine, dude. Oh my gosh. I love to golf. every single time I can, I will go golfing. I love to play volleyball. I played volleyball in college. That was like my two things in college. I played a lot of Call of Duty and I played a lot of volleyball. And that was like all my time.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I miss playing volleyball. I want to kind of get back into that. Also a big, like, I love watching movies. So if I have any free time, I'll sit down and watch movies. It's like my kind of go-to. And then Sarah and I are huge board game players. So we're always trying to play like the newest board game, whatever way. It mostly like I'm just competitive in everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I gotta win.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, does she enjoy the board games, or is it she's just the one you have to play against?
No, she beats me a lot of the times. It's really annoying.
So, what are some of your favorite spots in Charlotte?
Oh, Topgolf.
Topgolf?
Topgolf is a good one. I've been going to the Dilworth Tasting Room around the corner over here.
I'm trying to remember if I've been. I know where it's. I'm trying to remember if I've been there.
It's
There's
a cocktail lounge.
There's another one, isn't there, in Valentine?
Yeah, probably. I think there is too.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I've been over there a lot for drinks recently. I love Hot Taco behind us. It's one of my places to go eat. At the Buffalo Strip Taco is the best.
Yes.
And then Roussan's, we love sushi, so we'll get sushi.
Yeah.
At lunch.
So I've only been there. Like, I thought this one of the people in the Discord was crazy when they said like Roussan's was really good sushi.
Yeah.
Because I've only been there twice.
Yeah.
And when I gone, I didn't know it was just a lunch thing. I thought it was all the time, but they had like a buffet sort of deal.
Yep.
And that's all I had. And I was like, I mean, it's like all right. I was like, that's not good sushi. And then they were like, that's like the closest thing to Japan I've had. And I was like, well, I don't want that then. But I didn't know. And then I tried to wait in line the other day, or like to call. Like I called and they were like, yeah, it's gonna be like an hour wait. And I was like, I'm not sitting out in my car for an hour.
Yeah, they've been crazy over there, honestly. Every single time, like, I call ahead and then, pick it up or whatever, so we'll take it to go. But we used to go there, like, once a week. If you look at my vlogs from last year when I was vlogging all the time, dude, like,
yeah, you.
every other video is like, I'm getting sushi today.
Have you been to that? There's another one called, like, Osu or something like that? I think it's Osu.
No, I don't think I have, dude.
Yeah, that was another guest on the podcast had mentioned it, and I hadn't been there.
Okay.
That's like towards the end. That's like one of my like this question I love because like I also like give the info out for those favorite spots.
Oh, there you go.
So,
wow, I just gave you a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I have. There's a little bit. But yeah, that's so like I need to go back to Roussan's when it's not the buffet sushi.
Yep. And the specialty rolls, dude.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I also like more simple rolls. So like nigiri, I like loving just the piece of fish on sushi rice.
Yep.
But I do love like a lot of specialty rolls. My wife.
Oh, she gets them, huh?
Oh yeah, she.
Heck yeah.
Because sushi is her favorite thing, and then you know who Bajir is.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you seen like when he goes out for sushi?
No.
And he posts on social media.
Oh, is it?
It takes up like this entire table.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
that's amazing.
That's what Jordan would do. She would order that much. If
I would do that. I always want to get the boats. So like the
yes.
The like like the big boat of sushi. Like yeah, I've never ordered one before, but I want to.
Yeah, we've done that before. That's who is it? I think Nakado's does that too. So like they have the belt there, but like if you're at the hibachi table, and you order enough, it comes out in like a boat. That's
ooh, yes, that's on my to-do list. Maybe my birthday.
So back to the business side of stuff. How to spot and avoid like sabotage advice, and what I mean by that is like when you go to someone for advice that you think would like be a good person to do it, but like once they start opening their mouth essentially or you can kind of read it in the email sometimes.
Yep.
Like that's advice that's not good and it's kind of meant to make you go backwards.
So this is a great question, by the way. There's something that I learned a long time ago, and that I don't necessarily. It's really easy to tone certain people out because you don't understand their perspective or see their ways or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this takes a lot of patience, but what I have learned is that I do my best. I'm not amazing at it all the time, but I'm always listening. I'm always listening to everyone and all of their advice, and then I kind of formulate my plan and figure out what works and what doesn't, right? So I take every piece of advice I get with a grain of salt. And sometimes people will give you the best advice if you just keep listening. And it's not, and it could be somebody who like doesn't normally always give you the best advice kind of thing. Like somebody you could write off, but if you keep listening, they tend to actually have the right answers if you just keep listening to them. And that's really, really important, is you get a lot of advice from a lot of different people, and you keep listening, and then you see what works, and you test in whatever way you can.
Yeah, that's like if you'll notice during the episodes, you won't see me talk a whole lot after I ask the question, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not, at least in the near future anyway, trying to do my own business. It's just that I like hearing this stuff.
Sure, yeah, of course.
And it's just like one of the few things that I've loved about meeting people and the activities I do outside of work. They all just happen to be entrepreneurs in Charlotte, and I was like, well, this is interesting stuff, so I'm going to surround myself with it.
It's awesome, dude.
The next few questions are kind of related to the pandemic currently.
Yikes.
So in what aspect did COVID impact you all the most?
I had 4 big events planned for the year. The first one was that Rocket League Invitational, and I was going to continue to go with those. So I was going to do one every 3 months. So that kind of got halted. Everything physical did. So like we were planning to move a couple teams here. Couldn't do that. We wanted to do some digital content reveals with like the players being in the office doing something and kind of walking up to them or whatever. So we couldn't do that stuff. So a lot of our content plans got ruined. But the good stuff is that all the numbers inflated online, and that everything we did just transitioned to online, and we found that there was a lot of cool things that we could still do from afar. So
that's what I mentioned in the earlier episode with Ty, was that like it's kind of nice with esports. It's like if it has to, it could be done online, but like that's only going to make you go so far.
That's right.
So that's kind of, and you kind of hit on how
you
you
miss,
adapted.
Yeah, you miss lands, and you can't monetize your customer as much online than you can.
That's another. It's like, and then you're gonna lose. That's what it's like. You can't go so far because investors are only gonna.
That's right.
Do so much.
It's like you bought a CDL franchise, but you can't sell tickets to come to your events anymore. It's all online, right? So like they're losing.
That's a deficit.
Yeah, that's like, and DreamHack. Like think about DreamHacks, that didn't happen this year because of it too. So it's like PAX.
I had 2 tickets.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't you buy tickets to the Rocket League World Tour as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that one didn't happen. It's just like, those guys just got hurt really bad because of that stuff. So like those are definitely negatives, but like it's not anything different than like what the NBA has seen in soccer games and baseball games. So like it's similar, and that's across the board for every sports industry. Can't sell tickets.
Yeah. So and back to our lovely city, what is like one of the things that has changed since you like lived here, moved here, that you love or find interesting?
Things that have changed.
I think I forgot to send you this question.
Love or find interesting. I love that there's new people all the time because it's new blood to the city, so it's always changing based off of what that new blood brings in. So I think that's one of the reasons I love Charlotte, for a lot of different reasons, is because like it's always growing and consistently changing, and I think that molds the future of the city in a lot of ways. And it's also very young. I everywhere I go, there's always young people everywhere, kind of thing. It's not like a retirement's nest location. It is very much.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely like maybe 40 and under.
Yeah,
and it is like the predominant age
for sure,
like 25 to 40.
Yeah.
And then so what was important to you about working with like local schools to develop an esports program for them?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So like you kind of hit on it earlier, but I just didn't know if you want to go more in depth with it.
No, I can. One of the things with esports is we kind of have to meet people where they are, right? Like they're not going to seek out esports, so we have to go to them and teach and educate on something that maybe they just are too busy to understand and don't really understand like the scope of the good things that can happen. So partnering with schools is very, very important for that, because we directly connect with our customer, right? Our esports gamer, and then we turn that in a lot of ways to educating administration, educating parents, educating like maybe older, younger brothers, whatever, family, the whole nuclear engine. But I mean, we had to meet them where they were, right? And personally, and this is kind of a shot across the bow to some folks, but like play versus high school esports league. Like, what do you know? Like,
what is that?
Yeah. It's like, well, not what.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think they're doing great things in the industry, right? But I don't think they're localized enough. So they.
Oh, is that like TESPA?
Yeah, it's it's the high school version of esports. And, and like you as a school or a kid can like apply in order to kind of play in this, you know, kind of ecosystem with all the other high schools in maybe your state or then your, you know, the country or whatever.
Okay.
But like the problem with that is that there's so much education that has to take place before the administrations are willing to like recognize it as an athletic sport within each of the schools. And they're too slow to the curve. Like they're just trying to get it like all at once, right? When I think that the thing that actually has to happen is local esports entities need to connect with city government and get them to understand the positive impacts and then create their own mini leagues. And then maybe that becomes a feeder to high school esports league. And I'm sure I'm not saying this, like they probably understand that piece. And like I'm an important part of the model because it's like I'm going to educate the city of Charlotte. Like I have no doubt that in 3 years, I think Charlotte will be ahead of every single school system in America on what esports looks like because of the programs we're building and because of the administration that we're having the opportunity to speak with to be like, hey, this is really, really important and here's why.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know how long the talks were.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was pretty fast whenever you had started, like I heard you talking that you were meeting with like high school students or whatever, and then like the Wide Tech program came out.
Yep.
So I was like that time frame seemed really short.
It was super short. Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of crazy because I feel like that definitely has to go through like, you know, the city and the boards and all that stuff. So I was like, wow, these are really like I guess forward thinkers.
Yeah.
I guess would be a phrase for it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like Tarek Bakari from the city government has been like awesome. Like he's like advocating for esports for the government, right? And that's a huge part. And then we've been talking to, you know, local, state, not local, but state, House and Senate representatives that are also really excited about esports, right? So like we have to get some bills passed in order to make some of these things happen, and we realize that, right? So it's like this whole government approach, and once we have these pieces in place, we're just going to go to the schools and be like, hey, we've already done the hard work. It's all good to go. You know, come play in this league. And then, like, I don't really care if, you know, high school esports league or Play Versus shows up and like, okay, well, we're going to run this big tournament. Well, that's pretty cool, man. Like, here's the business we currently have. Like, we can partner or whatever. But essentially, we're going to have a monopoly on it. And there's not really a lot of things they can do about it unless they want to hire, like, somebody in each of the local cities to advocate on their behalf.
Yeah.
Right? And because they're
which would require a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's just like esports has to be localized because of the education piece that has to happen. You know, which is kind of a bummer. You know, you wish it happened from a big level and it trickled down, but it doesn't necessarily trickle down because there's a lot of people you have to convince on a personal level of why it's important. So.
Yeah. And then do you, getting back to like you personally, do you like focus on like one game at a time, or do you like to kind of play a lot of games to kind of break up the monotony of it?
Yeah, I used to be like I only played COD. When Halo was out, I only played Halo. When Diablo was out before that, I only played Diablo. And those were games that I was playing like, you know, I was trying to be the best in the world no matter what. Same with World of Warcraft. Like I was trying to be the best no matter what. But I think over time I've gotten to where I'm more of just like I'll pick any game. Like it's like who's on, who wants to play. Okay, I'll play that game kind of thing. So yeah, right now I'm very much I don't game very often. Maybe a couple hours a week. Where I'll play like some Rocket League or whatever. Some Valorant,
chill.
Some COD, maybe some League of Legends. It honestly depends on like who shows up and they're like, hey, do you want to play? I'm like, yes, I will play that game with you or whatever.
Yes, I definitely noticed that like on a few nights when you would come in for like community night.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, everybody's getting off, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go hop on this. Hey, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
Yeah, here we go. Let's do this thing.
And then, do you have a favorite moment in esports history that you can remember?
Oh yeah, I love the Boston Major. Dude,
the Boston Major?
Yeah, dude, when Cloud9 came back and freaking knocked those FaZe nerds out in their butts. I love an underdog story, and I feel like that is the best underdog story I have seen in esports. And I wish it happened more. You know, I think that like and from a high level in professional esports, the difference in skill between the best team and the lowest team is actually not that much. It's very, very little. And I think that I wish I saw more updates because of that, because they're all very, very competitive. But it just doesn't. I don't know if we don't capture it well as an industry on how it happened and tell the story.
Yeah.
But you just don't ever hear that story very often.
Okay. So, speaking on that, I'm going to add a question in here if you wouldn't mind answering. How do you feel about player movement and how often it happens? Like, do you feel like if a team stuck together after a major loss,
Yep.
that like the next year if they were still together, because they just went through that whole season playing together,
Yep.
getting there, do you think that they probably would have come out way better resulting
Sure.
on the other side of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about chemistry, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that a lot of teams lack, especially at the amateur level, is like there's no coach,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not talking about like a tactical in-game coach. I'm talking about somebody who deals with interpersonal relationships, helps the team manage those relationships so that they can communicate effectively in order to have their voices heard and that their thoughts are implemented in the right ways, right? And like that's kind of sophisticated for a 17-year-old who wants to play Rainbow Six Siege competitively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Because I would feel like they would definitely need to be a little
Yeah.
older.
yeah, and
Not even a lot. Like even somebody who was like if they were 17, like maybe like 19, 20.
yeah, and
You'd be
I
like,
don't, I
just
don't,
knock
if,
it off.
I don't know if you've been on the receiving this before, but there's a ton of egos, and egos don't take the time to teach. If you're the best on the team, you should be teaching people the most in a positive way.
Yeah.
Not like you get the best kills on the map, and after the maps you're like, okay, why can't you guys play like me, kind of thing. It's very like, and those are the kind of things I'm talking about. I'm not talking about who pushes first and like the exact tactics of the map and whatnot, because I'm too far removed to understand what exactly that looks like. What I can do and what I say but like what the teams need is somebody who manages, okay, this person didn't show up to practice. That's an issue. This person is blatantly disregarding the thoughts of the team. That's an issue. How do I resolve those kind of things? So I think that will get fixed based off of the structure we built, like a high school esports league that has a coach attached to a school, right?
They kind of grow up in the environment.
Yeah, that understands that they have to manage the team, not necessarily the tactics, because everyone thinks that like the coach is supposed to be better than you and tactically sound and know more, and that helps, right? Like that's not a bad thing. But it's not the end-all, be-all, right? A lot of teams just need somebody that's going to motivate them the right way and manage the chaos.
See, I thought that's kind of always how it was for coaches until I got into there'd be like videos of listening and stuff like that. Because like my thought was like by the time like coaches tell you to do anything, it's too late for you to react.
That's right.
Because like you can read a few seconds into the game of like what's gonna happen, and then like as an example. You like spawn flipping, like you know what you need to do for that.
Yep.
Or like in Halo where there's like timers for certain things.
Yep.
Like they could be there to be like, all right, 10 seconds left, make a move, and then. But other than that, I thought that's what they were really there for, was like mitigation purposes.
Yeah, a lot of times coaches aren't even allowed to talk to players when the game is live. Like
I asked, I think it was Meta that, and then I asked Yogi when he was here the other night. I was like, so like, is it typical for coaches to be in there, or do you only ever see that at like world events?
Yep.
Where they're standing behind them.
Yep.
Because I was like, I never hear anybody in any comms ever.
Yep. I mean, and it's like it's the same thing with like, think of the head coach for the Patriots, Bill Belichick, right? He's not telling Tom Brady what to do in the middle of the play, but he might help him develop that play and what it looks like. And I'm sure he gave Tom Brady a bunch of, advice when that was happening. Obviously, Tom Brady's not there now, but I'm saying like previously. But yeah, it's just like that's the thing that the players don't know they need, and it hasn't been given to them in a way they accept yet, right? And it's hard to do, but I mean, it probably exists. I say it probably exists. It doesn't really exist for like youth soccer leagues, right? You get a coach. There's a coach, and maybe there's bad coaches that do the wrong thing, right? So like, then that's a new problem, right? Like training the coaches of the next generation, which is something.
So that kind of wraps up any questions I have with Charlotte Esports and Charlotte Phoenix. So with the ventures that y'all have had in the last couple of years, have you met any other local entrepreneurs that you found interesting?
There's a couple that work here at Tabris that are super sick. One of them is Lucid Travel. They do travel for colleges, and obviously their business isn't doing great right now, but their model is super cool where it's a one-stop shop, and if you have to travel for like a club or an NCAA team, they essentially like do all the work for you. You just tell them your basic travel plans. They set it all up, and then they kind of send you a receipt, and then they give you a custom website as well. It's pretty sick. So they're really cool. There's also a social media company here that does a lot of video production stuff. So like they actually shoot commercials and things, and those guys are pretty cool too. So
yeah, it's Ben and Chase from Lucid, right?
yeah, Ben and Chase.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like my first couple episodes, they were actually sitting out over here on the
Funny.
couches. So
Yeah.
I talked to them a couple times. They're actually on my list.
Oh, there you go. Hell yeah. Stay Plugged In's pretty dope too. I mean, they do some cool
Also,
stuff.
yeah, and I've been talking with Kyle, and I think it's I'm trying to remember Chase as well.
Nick.
And I haven't talked to Nick
Rick.
a whole lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And Rick has just been like one or two times.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. And then is there any questions that maybe you had for me?
What is this platform? What are we talking? Like, I haven't seen you've been doing podcasts. Is there a rhyme or reason to like, is there a platform / strategy? What are you doing?
So this is just like the CLT Bytes is just for like kind of getting more exposure to the local entrepreneur scene here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just because of like one of my activities I did after work was axe throwing.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of local entrepreneurs that like to go do that. And I was playing it competitively.
Okay.
And so I would, just on league nights is what we called it. That's all we would talk about. We would just talk about that. And I'm just the one over here like, yeah, I'm in the military. But I just thought it was really cool just to be able to talk to these guys in that kind of a setting.
Yeah.
And, so I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. And
cool.
then
That's awesome.
So that's the only real platform that I have right now for this. And then maybe I can use these skills to build up something else.
Yeah, no, I honestly love it. I think it's a dope idea. And I love doing podcasts. And for me, it's like I always come up with cool podcast ideas and then never actually do them. So like it's kind of inspiring that you are doing this. So I think it's super dope.
It was like I was just like, Jordan, I just really like talking to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
I go to axe throwing because like I'll always miss my term and they're calling my name.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, why don't you talk with them after axe throwing? I was like, I do sometimes.
Great idea.
And then I don't know who it was. I think it may have been Gary V. I was watching. He was like, just go make a podcast. Go do it.
Do it. There you go. Here you are, dude.
So there it is.
Oh yeah, that's
awesome. This is
awesome.
like episode number 6. So that's probably why I like the platform. Was like, it's like, what is this?
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's a dope idea.
So did you have any like plug-in or promotions you wanted to throw out there for everybody to know?
I could throw my Twitter out there. I use that most. So CLT_Pathfinder. Happy to connect. Happy to, drop a follow and just send me a DM and whatever it is it might be. Maybe you want to be the next esports professional, or maybe you want to talk about a business venture. I'm happy to chat and go esports.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of CLT Bytes. This is Brother Jacks signing out.
Bye.